Think about the last time you were in a packed, really noisy restaurant, just trying to hear the person sitting right across from you.
Oh, yeah. That is always such a struggle.
Right. You are leaning in. You are like squinting your eyes for some reason.
Which doesn't actually help you hear better, by the way.
No, not at all. And you find yourself absolutely exhausted just trying to follow the conversation. But the crazy thing is, the problem in that moment probably wasn't your ears at all.
Exactly. It was actually your brain running out of chemical bandwidth.
Yeah. And that is exactly what we're getting into today. We're taking a deep dive into an article excerpt titled Beyond the Ears: How ECHOXEN Supports Circulation and Nerve Health.
It's a fascinating read.
It really is.
Mhm.
And our mission for you today is to completely reframe how you understand your auditory health. I mean, we tend to picture our ears as these, standalone microphones attached to the sides of our heads.
Right, just pieces of biological hardware.
Exactly. Like sound goes in and that's the end of the story. But we are going to see that hearing is this incredibly complex whole body biological process.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the best way I can describe what we're looking at in this material is that your ears are not standalone microphones. They are actually more like a massive live broadcasting network.
That is a great way to put it.
And that network relies entirely on your circulatory system and your nervous system to even stay on the air.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it completely changes the stakes for you. We often assume that if a doctor looks inside our ear and says the eardrum looks fine, well, our hearing is fine.
Right, like we get a clean bill of health.
Exactly. But even if you have perfectly pristine mechanical parts in the ear without healthy nerve communication and, high-speed brain processing, those ears cannot effectively make sense of sound.
It's like having the most expensive, state-of-the-art microphone in the world, right? Right, but if the data cables connecting it to the broadcasting booth are frayed, or the producer sitting in the booth is completely asleep at the wheel, you aren't getting a clear broadcast.
You are just getting noise.
Exactly, just
Yeah.
static and noise.
Okay, so if hearing is this whole body broadcasting network, we first need to figure out how this network gets its power. Let's kind of trace the path here.
Sure.
The physical process starts when sound waves, which are literally just changes in air pressure, enter the outer ear and travel down to the eardrum, causing it to vibrate.
Right, that's the mechanical part we all learn about in school.
Yeah, but the actual magic, the translation of that physical vibration into something your body can actually understand, well, that happens deeper inside the skull.
In the inner ear.
Exactly. Specifically in this remarkable spiral-shaped organ called the cochlea.
The cochlea is truly an architectural marvel of biology. Inside that tiny spiral, which is, it's roughly the size of a pea.
I mean, really? It's that small?
Yeah, it's tiny, but inside it, there are thousands of microscopic sensory hair cells. And their entire job is to dance.
To dance.
Well, essentially, they take the physical vibrations from the sound waves, bend back and forth, and through that mechanical shearing action, they generate electrical potentials.
Wow.
They are literally converting a physical movement into an electrical signal.
But I mean, to do that highly demanding translation job, those cells must need staggering amounts of energy.
Oh, absolutely.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The inner ear is one of the smallest organs in the human body, but its energy requirements are completely disproportionate to its size.
It's a massive energy drain.
Yeah, it is constantly on, constantly monitoring your environment, even when you are sleeping. But it has this major biological quirk.
Right, the lack of storage.
Exactly. It has almost no ability to store oxygen or nutrients locally.
Mm.
Think of the inner ear like a massive, high-performance sports car with a microscopic gas tank.
Or like a data center that was somehow built without a battery backup system.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy. Because the second the local power grid dips, the servers just go offline. It cannot store fuel for a rainy day.
It relies entirely on a live, continuous, uninterrupted power grid, which in this case is your blood flow.
Just to keep the sensory data processing.
That data center analogy captures the vulnerability perfectly. Because the tissues in the inner ear cannot stockpile what they need, they're entirely at the mercy of continuous blood circulation.
They need that constant delivery.
Exactly. A second-by-second supply of oxygen, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and glucose. And, it's a two-way street.
What do you mean by two-way?
Well, it is not just about bringing the vital nutrients in. Cellular metabolism generates waste. If that waste isn't immediately cleared out by the bloodstream, it builds up.
Oh, and I assume that's bad.
Very bad. It becomes highly toxic to those delicate hair cells. Even a temporary reduction in microcirculation can severely disrupt how those auditory tissues function.
So the cellular energy production stalls, and the toxic exhaust basically just lingers.
Exactly. It's a double whammy for the inner ear.
Which means, from a purely physiological standpoint, auditory wellness is actually cardiovascular wellness.
100%. The two are permanently linked.
So if you want healthy hearing, you have to have healthy blood flow powering the data center.
You have to keep the grid online.
Right. So how do we keep that power grid running perfectly? How does the body keep those tiny microscopic physiological highways wide open so the blood can actually reach the inner ear?
Well, the sources introduce us to this biological traffic cop. It's a fascinating molecule called nitric oxide.
Nitric oxide, okay.
Yeah, it's the hero of microcirculation. Its primary role in the vascular system is acting as a signaling molecule. It literally tells your blood vessels to relax.
To just loosen up.
Exactly. When nitric oxide interacts with the smooth muscle cells lining your arteries, those vessels dilate. They literally widen.
And that vasodilation reduces friction. Right.
Right. It allows blood to flow with far less resistance. This is the exact mechanism that supports healthy, continuous circulation to remote tissues that require that second-by-second nourishment.
Like the deep structures inside the cochlea.
Exactly.
Hang on, though. Wait, if nitric oxide is produced naturally by our bodies anyway, why do we need to worry about providing nutritional building blocks like L-Arginine?
That's a really good point.
I mean, shouldn't my body just handle vasodilation on autopilot without me having to think about supplements or whatever?
What's fascinating here is the intersection of the aging process and our nutritional demands. Yes, your body produces nitric oxide naturally, primarily in the endothelium.
Which is the inner lining of your blood vessels, right?
Correct. But as we age, that endothelium becomes less efficient. The natural production of nitric oxide gradually declines.
So the factory slows down.
The biological machinery is still there, yeah, but it doesn't have the same internal efficiency, and it often lacks the raw materials it needs to keep up with the demand.
Okay, and this is where the targeted nutrition mentioned in the source comes into play.
Exactly. The article discusses a liquid supplement called ECHOXEN, and it uses it as a prime example of how to address this specific bottleneck.
Right, because one of the key ingredients they highlight in ECHOXEN is an amino acid called L-Arginine.
Yes.
And from the research detailed here, L-Arginine isn't just some random vitamin, right? It is a direct biological building block.
It's widely studied for cardiovascular wellness and endothelial function, specifically because it is the foundational precursor to nitric oxide.
So without it, you can't make the nitric oxide.
Exactly. When you consume an amino acid like L-Arginine, you are essentially restocking the warehouse.
Giving the factory what it needs.
Right. An enzyme in your blood vessels takes that L-Arginine and chemically converts it directly into nitric oxide.
That is amazing.
By providing the body with that specific raw material through nutrition, you give the failing biological machinery exactly what it needs to maintain optimal blood vessel relaxation.
And without those raw materials, the body simply struggles to keep those microscopic highways open.
And then that continuous oxygen delivery to the ears begins to falter.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. We are securing the power grid.
Exactly.
So the blood flow keeps the engine running, it fuels the cochlea, and those little hair cells can keep bending and converting physical sound waves into electrical data.
Right.
But, data sitting inside the ear is completely useless. How does it actually get uploaded to the brain?
Now we have to look at the nervous system. These are really the hidden heroes of hearing.
Hidden heroes, I like that.
It's the right way to put it because so many people assume hearing problems begin and end inside the ear canal.
Right, with the eardrum.
The reality is that the auditory nerve is just as critical as the eardrum. This nerve is the high-speed fiber optic cable of your broadcasting network.
Okay.
It carried the electrical impulses directly from the cochlea up into the auditory cortex of the brain. Every single auditory experience of your life, like a complex symphony, a blaring car horn, a subtle bird song.
Or a whispered conversation in a noisy room.
Exactly. All of it depends entirely upon the speed and accuracy of that nerve signaling.
And nerves aren't just like static copper wires, right?
Yeah.
They are living, breathing biological cells.
Yes, very complex cells.
They have gaps between them called synapses, and the electrical signal actually has to jump across those gaps to get to the brain.
And to make that jump rapidly and accurately, Nerve cells rely on chemical messengers called neurotransmitters.
They literally ferry the signal across the synaptic gap.
Exactly. For this entire system to work at the speed of sound, those nerves require immense cellular energy, serious antioxidant protection to keep the pathways clear, and a very robust supply of those neurotransmitters.
Which brings us to the second major amino acid mentioned in the ECHOXEN formula.
L-Tyrosine.
Right. While L-Arginine was all about the blood vessels, L-Tyrosine's job is completely different.
It acts as the chemical precursor to produce several vital neurotransmitters in the brain and nervous system.
Specifically dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine.
Right. And these specific neurotransmitters are heavily involved in sensory gating.
Sensory gating, what does that mean?
It means they govern your mental alertness, your cognitive performance, your ability to focus, and how your brain handles sensory input under stress.
Oh, wow.
Because hearing complex sounds depends on rapid split-second communication between the auditory nerves and the brain, maintaining this neurotransmitter pool is what actually allows you to process the world around you.
I really want to emphasize that word, processing. Because I think this is where we all fundamentally misunderstand our own hearing.
How so?
Well, the brain's role isn't just passively detecting that a noise occurred. It has to process and decode it. Think of L-tyrosine and those resulting neurotransmitters, like your internal chemical Wi-Fi bandwidth.
Oh, I like that. Bandwidth.
Yeah. If you are trying to stream a highly complex, high-definition audio file, let's go back to our friend in that super crowded, noisy restaurant,
Yeah.
you need maximum bandwidth.
You really do.
The brain has to instantly separate dozens of overlapping voices, filter out the background clatter of silverware and plates, recognize complex language patterns, identify your friend's specific vocal tone.
And process all of that information in real time.
Exactly.
This raises an important question for you as the listener to reflect on. Think about your own experiences with hearing fatigue.
Oh, that exhaustion we talked about earlier.
Exactly. When you leave a crowded room like that restaurant and you just feel incredibly drained, your ears aren't tired.
Right, the ears just collected the sound.
You heard the noise perfectly fine. The struggle to distinguish the words wasn't an issue with the ear mechanics detecting the sound. It was an issue of nervous system processing.
Wow.
It was your brain struggling to manage massive amounts of conflicting data, and filtering that data requires an enormous burn rate of dopamine and norepinephrine.
So wait, when I'm totally exhausted after a cocktail party, I'm literally just out of neurotransmitters from trying to filter the noise.
Pretty much, yeah.
That completely changes how I view socializing.
Yeah.
It's not just an introvert thing. It's a chemical depletion thing.
It really is.
Okay, so we've established how incredibly delicate these two systems are. We have the blood flow system supplying the fuel via nitric oxide.
Right.
And the nerve signal system managing the data bandwidth via neurotransmitters.
Exactly.
So what actually threatens this biological balance? I mean, how does the whole thing get derailed?
Well, the primary biological threat outlined in the sources is oxidative stress.
Okay.
And that is driven by free radicals. To understand this, we have to look at cellular metabolism. Every single day, simply by running the engine of your body, your cells produce free radicals.
Which are bad. Yes.
Yes. These are highly unstable molecules that are missing an electron, so they roam around your body trying to steal electrons from healthy cells, causing damage in the process.
So just by existing and breathing, we are generating these little cellular thieves.
We are, but our modern environment pours gasoline on the fire. Exposure to pollution, persistently loud environments, poor diets full of processed foods, aging, and chronic psychological stress.
Wow. So everything.
Basically, all of these trigger the body to generate a massive excess of free radicals. When those free radicals outnumber your body's natural defense system, you enter a state of oxidative stress.
And I'm guessing that hurts the ears.
It causes severe physical harm to the vascular tissues and the nerve tissues we've been talking about. It essentially rusts the biological machinery involved in hearing.
To fight off these free radicals, the body uses antioxidants, right? Which are basically generous molecules that donate an electron to the free radical to neutralize it without becoming unstable themselves.
Exactly. They are the defenders.
But the source material makes a really crucial point here. The human body cannot manufacture every single nutrient and antioxidant it requires to win this battle.
Right. It needs outside help.
A lot of the heavy lifters, like the plant compounds, specific minerals, and the amino acids we discussed, they have to be outsourced. They must come from a nutrient-dense diet or from targeted supplementation.
And the article frames ECHOXEN as a liquid format designed specifically to deliver a daily, convenient blend of these exact amino acids, vitamins, minerals, and botanical extracts.
Right.
The goal of a formula like that is to provide cellular defense against oxidative stress while simultaneously offering the structural support needed for circulation and nerve function.
So what does this all mean? No, wait, hear me out. If I'm taking a targeted liquid supplement every morning that gives me all the L-Tyrosine for my nerve bandwidth, and the L-Arginine to keep my blood vessels wide open, and a bunch of antioxidants to fight off the free radicals,
Okay, I see where you're going.
can I just stop worrying about it? Can I
Oh.
just crank up the volume in my headphones because my inner ear is biochemically protected?
No, absolutely not. The science is completely unforgiving on this point. You cannot
Hmm.
out-supplement mechanical damage.
Damn. I was hoping for a loophole.
Sorry, no loophole. Nutrition is just one pillar of auditory wellness. A formula provides the biochemical building blocks to optimize the systems, but it cannot prevent physical trauma.
Right, the actual sound waves.
Exactly. When you blast the volume in your headphones, you are sending a physical shock wave into the cochlea that violently shears and shatters those tiny hair cells.
Ouch.
And once they are physically broken, no amount of amino acids will glue them back together. Supplements must work synergistically with lifestyle choices.
So the hardware still has to be protected. The biochemistry can only do so much if you are actively taking a hammer to the microphone.
It is entirely about synergy. Crucial everyday habits are still the foundation. Avoiding prolonged acoustic trauma is non-negotiable.
Turn down the headphones.
Yes. But beyond that, think about how your daily habits interact with everything we've discussed. Regular cardiovascular exercise isn't just for your waistline.
It helps the ears.
Yeah, it acts like a power washer for your circulatory system, forcing blood through those microscopic vessels in the air.
Oh, that makes sense.
And staying properly hydrated keeps your blood volume optimal. Getting adequate sleep allows the brain to literally flush out the toxic metabolic waste from the nervous system.
So sleep cleans out the data center.
Exactly. Eating antioxidant-rich fruits and vegetables continuously supplies electron donors to fight oxidative stress. Managing your blood pressure and scheduling routine evaluations, all of these practices work together to support the physiological systems that make hearing possible.
It really is a holistic picture. The text refers to it as a seamless cooperation of circulation, nerve communication, brain function, and cellular health.
Seamless cooperation, exactly.
Which really brings us to the core revelation of this deep dive for you today. Taking care of your hearing is not a localized ear-only task.
Not at all.
It is a full-body sport. It relies heavily on your heart health to maintain the power grid, your nerve signaling to process the data, and your cellular defense to fight off the daily wear and tear of oxidative stress.
Which means ultimately, taking care of your hearing fundamentally requires taking care of your overall cardiovascular and cognitive health.
You just can't separate them.
You cannot isolate the ears from the rest of the body. If your vascular system is struggling, your hearing will struggle. If your nervous system is depleted, your auditory processing will degrade.
And when you start looking at human biology this way, you realize everything connects.
It really does.
What you eat for breakfast, how you manage your stress at work, whether you went for a run to support your blood vessels, it all eventually trickles down to how clearly you can hear a bird singing outside your window.
Or how effortlessly you can chat with a friend in a crowded room.
Exactly.
Which leaves us with a final, lingering thought to mull over.
Okay, let's hear it.
We spent some time discussing how our ability to filter background noise and process complex conversations heavily relies on a robust pool of neurotransmitters, specifically dopamine and epinephrine.
Right, the Wi-Fi bandwidth.
Exactly. But we also know that chronic psychological burnout, which is essentially an epidemic in modern society, severely depletes these exact same brain chemicals.
Oh, wow.
So the question is, could our modern culture of constant stress and burnout actually be changing the physical way we hear and interpret the world around us?
Wait, really?
Are we literally losing our ability to tune out the noise simply because we are too stressed to produce the chemicals required to do it?
That is a wild thought.
It really makes you wonder.
It brings us right back to our opening metaphor. Your ears might be the most pristine microphones on the planet, but if the broadcasting network is running on an empty power grid and burnt-out fiber optic wires, the signal is just going to be static.
Just noise.
Keep that in mind the next time you find yourself struggling to hear through the noise. Take care of your whole system.